morning sun beat down mercilessly on the Norman countryside. July heat shimmered across open fields. Dust hung in the still air near Lagast. Tank crews sweated inside their steel coffins. Everyone knew what happened when armor met armor. The Panzer crew watched through their gun sight. Their target sat motionless in the distance. An American Sherman tank. Easy prey. The loader slammed an 88mm shell into the breech. The gunner adjusted his aim slightly. His finger found the trigger. The shell screamed across the battlefield. Metal tore through metal with a sound like the world splitting apart. The projectile punched clean through the Sherman's hull. The German crew held their breath. They waited for the inevitable fireball. They waited for another American crematorium to light up the morning sky. Seconds passed. The flames never came. The Sherman's turret began to turn. Its 76mm gun swiveled toward them. The German loader reached for another round. His hands shook slightly. This wasn't supposed to happen. That American tank should be burning by now. Every manual said so. Every battle from Russia to North Africa proved it. The Panther crew had just encountered something revolutionary. Something their intelligence services knew nothing about. The M4A376W Sherman they'd struck carried a secret. Double-walled ammunition bins filled with fire-suppressant liquid. 38 gallons of protection that German forces had never heard of. This modification existed in every Sherman built after January 1944. It reduced fire probability from nearly certain death to mere possibility. Across Normandy that morning, over 100 improved Shermans rolled into battle. German tank crews faced an enemy they didn't understand, an enemy that refused to burn as expected. The transformation had begun with disaster. Tunisia. February 1943. Kasserine Pass stretched like a graveyard of American armor. Burning Shermans dotted the valley floor. Crews died screaming inside steel ovens. 300 American tanks entered the battle. 183 never came home. British observers counted the carnage methodically. 65% of destroyed Shermans burned completely. American studies showed worse numbers. Sometimes 80% became funeral pyres. The mathematics of death were simple and brutal. Army engineers studied every knocked-out tank in North Africa. They crawled through twisted metal and charred remains. Their conclusion hit like a sledgehammer. Ammunition caused most fires, not gasoline, not hydraulic fluid. The 70-plus rounds stored throughout each tank became instant death traps when hit. Steel fragments from penetrating shells ignited propellant charges. Flames spread from round to round in seconds. Entire crews vanished in pillars of fire. The problem seemed unsolvable. Tanks needed ammunition to fight. Ammunition exploded when struck. Simple physics demanded terrible choices. A chemical engineer changed everything. DuPont sent their specialist to a tank board meeting in November 1943. His suggestion sounded absurd. Surround ammunition with liquid. Create underwater storage inside fighting vehicles. Initial proposals seemed impossible to implement. The concept evolved through engineering iteration. Double-walled containers replaced open racks. Liquid-filled cavities surrounded each storage cell. The ammunition moved to hull floors away from likely impact zones. Elegance emerged from desperation. Pressed Steel Car Company in Pennsylvania received new blueprints in December 1943. Their assembly lines underwent complete retooling. Workers installed equipment they barely understood. The first M4A176W rolled off the production line on January 3, 1944. The W stood for wet storage. Few people knew what that meant. Aberdeen Proving Ground became the testing laboratory. Technicians fired, captured German weapons at prototype storage systems. They used real 75mm and 88mm guns. The results exceeded every expectation. Dry ammunition storage exploded in 73% of direct hits. Wet storage burned in only 15% of cases. Classified films recorded the dramatic differences. Dry storage erupted in towering flames. Wet storage produced small puffs of smoke. Spreading liquid extinguished fires before they could grow. The modification worked exactly as designed. Each ammunition bin consisted of concentric walls. 10 rounds sat in the inner container. The outer shell held liquid fire suppressant. Initially, they used water. Water froze in winter conditions. They tried water and glycol mixtures. Glycol prevented freezing, but caused brass corrosion. The final solution came from chemistry laboratories. Amodamp contained ethyl sodium potassium phosphate. This mixture stayed liquid to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. It prevented metal corrosion. It inhibited bacterial growth in stagnant conditions. It suppressed fires better than pure water. Production ramped up through spring 1944. The M4A375W carried 100 rounds in floor storage, plus 4 ready rounds. Total liquid protection reached 37 gallons. The 76mm variants stored 71 rounds with 36 gallons of suppressant. The system added 900 pounds to each tank. Survivability improved dramatically. 130 improved Shermans reached England by April 1944. The 2nd and 3rd Armored Divisions received 52 tanks each. Training delays kept them from D-Day landings. Crews needed instruction on new 76mm guns. Ammunition supply logistics required reorganization. These protected Shermans would debut during Operation Cobra. The offensive began July 25, 1944, with the heaviest tactical bombing in military history. Carpet bombing cleared German positions. Smoke filled the air for miles. American armor surged through the gap at St. Lo. 2nd and 3rd Armored Divisions led the charge. They brought the first wet storage Shermans to European combat. Panzer Lehr Division positioned surviving Panthers in ambush positions. German gunners prepared for routine turkey shoots. They expected easy kills against American armor. The reality shattered German expectations completely. Panthers achieved penetrations at favorable ranges. Many targets continued fighting instead of burning. Some withdrew under their own power for repairs. German after-action reports reflected growing confusion about American tank resilience. Crews didn't know they faced M4A376W and M4A176W Shermans. The 67th and 33rd Armored Regiments brought wet storage protection to every engagement. Tanks that German gunners thought destroyed returned to combat within 48 hours. Field maintenance repaired damage that should have been fatal. Those that burned had typically been struck in engine compartments. Ammunition protection worked exactly as engineers designed. German defensive calculations assumed traditional Sherman vulnerability. Protected Shermans survived at rates that broke German tactical models. The engineering behind wet storage represented wartime innovation at its finest. Each storage bin required precise manufacturing tolerances. Double walls maintained exact spacing measurements. Gaps between inner and outer shells held 0.5 gallons per 10-round cell. Development speed impressed even hardened military bureaucrats. Initial water-only systems tested in October 1943 proved the basic concept worked. Testing revealed critical problems that needed solving. Freezing destroyed effectiveness in cold weather. Brass cartridge cases suffered severe corrosion. Bacterial growth contaminated stagnant water supplies. Ethylene glycol solved freezing, but accelerated metal deterioration. The final AMODAMP solution addressed every problem systematically. It remained liquid in Arctic conditions. It prevented rust and corrosion completely. It killed bacteria that might contaminate the system. It actually improved fire suppression over pure water. Each tank required careful initial filling procedures. Crews checked liquid levels through inspection ports. According to Ordnance Department records, effectiveness exceeded original projections. Shell fragments penetrating storage bins released floods of suppressant liquid. Any exposed propellant got soaked before ignition could occur. Even if some propellant caught fire, liquid prevented spread to other rounds. Tanks went from total losses to minor damage repairs. This single modification revolutionized armored warfare survival rates. German technical intelligence worked from obsolete information. Kummersdorf Proving Ground analyzed American armor using specimens captured in Tunisia. These came from battles fought before wet storage existed. Evaluation focused on M4A1 tanks from 1st Armored Division captured at Sidi Bou Zid in February 1943. German reports documented every aspect of Sherman design meticulously. Armor composition received detailed analysis. Engine performance got systematic evaluation. Transmission characteristics underwent thorough testing. Ammunition storage received special attention from intelligence specialists. The reports identified ammunition rack placement in sponsons above track level. Intelligence bulletins distributed this information to all Panzer units. Recommendations emphasized targeting these areas for maximum destructive effect. This intelligence became standard doctrine for German tank crews. Training schools from Putlos to Paderborn taught students to aim for Sherman sponsons. Range cards issued to anti-tank units highlighted these vulnerable areas in red ink. The tactical doctrine became embedded so thoroughly that crews automatically targeted sponson areas. Even when sponson hits stopped producing fires, crews assumed they had simply missed ammunition storage. The timing proved catastrophic for German forces. Their comprehensive Sherman analysis concluded just as American factories began producing modified variants. Every subsequent intelligence update referenced the older evaluation as definitive truth. Frontline units reported unusual Sherman survivability in combat reports. Staff officers dismissed these reports as exaggerations from combat-stressed troops. The transformation of American tank production represented unprecedented industrial coordination. Detroit Arsenal in Grand Blanc, Michigan, transitioned from M4A2 to M4A3 production seamlessly. They incorporated wet storage modifications without stopping production lines. Between February 1944 and March 1945, Fisher produced 3,071 M4A375W tanks. Entire factory floors needed complete redesign to accommodate ammunition bins below turret baskets. This required new stamping dies and modified welding jigs. Assembly sequences changed throughout the production process. The partial turret basket replaced full rotating floors to allow hull ammunition access. This modification required redesigning entire turret traverse mechanisms. Hydraulic lines needed rerouting around new ammunition positions. Electrical cables required different pathways. Control linkages underwent complete reconfiguration. Pressed Steel Car Company achieved similar production milestones. M4A176W production began January 1944. They manufactured 3,426 units through July 1945. Integration with new 76mm guns created additional challenges. The larger weapon required turret modifications and different ammunition types. Weight distribution needed rebalancing throughout the vehicle. By June 1944, American factories produced only wet storage variants. The transition occurred so smoothly that German intelligence remained completely unaware. They continued working from year-old captured specimens while American tanks evolved beyond recognition. Normandy's hedgerow country became an inadvertent testing ground. The bocage terrain forced combat at ranges where German guns easily penetrated Sherman armor. Yet American tank losses proved surprisingly recoverable to maintenance units. Third Army's repair battalions recovered 67% of knocked-out Shermans during Operation Cobra. Tanks that would have been total fire losses with dry storage returned to service at 70% rates. This invisible multiplication of American tank strength confounded German planning at every organizational level. Commanders expressed frustration in war diaries about apparently inexhaustible American reserves. Panthers achieved hits and penetrations against Sherman formations. Many impacts failed to produce permanent kills as expected. American maintenance units recovered tanks German crews considered destroyed. They repaired damage and returned vehicles to combat operations. Mathematical models German staff used for calculating enemy strength no longer functioned properly. Major General Maurice Rose's 3rd Armored Division spearheaded assaults with approximately 200 improved Shermans. In 7 days of intense combat, the division advanced 100 miles. They fought dozens of separate engagements against determined German resistance. They maintained operational momentum despite counterattacks specifically designed to destroy American armor. Operation Lutic represented Germany's response to American breakthrough success. The Mortain counteroffensive launched August 7th with 4 Panzer divisions. The plan aimed at cutting off American spearheads that had advanced too rapidly. German planners assumed American armored units would be exhausted and depleted. Intelligence estimates placed American tank strength at 60% of actual numbers. They missed recovered and repaired Shermans that wet storage modification had saved from destruction. The 30th Infantry Division's stand at Mortain shattered German offensive power completely. Tank battalions equipped with modified Shermans absorbed repeated attacks. The 743rd Tank Battalion faced assaults by SS and Wehrmacht Panzer units throughout 6 days of continuous combat. Despite suffering numerous hull penetrations, the battalion maintained cohesion and combat effectiveness. Crews survived hits that would have killed them in earlier Sherman models. The Battle of Aracourt in September 1944 demonstrated the new reality most clearly. The 113th Panzer Brigade attacked American positions on September 19th. They expected tactical surprise and easy destruction of American armor through superior German gunnery techniques. Initial German attacks achieved numerous hits on 4th Armored Division Shermans. Panthers and Panzerweifers reported multiple penetrations at favorable engagement ranges. The American response defied every German expectation about armored combat. Instead of withdrawing with heavy losses, 4th Armored counterattacked with unexpected strength. Statistics tell the complete story of transformation. 4th Armored Division suffered 151 Sherman losses during Aracourt battles. Only 41 became complete write-offs requiring replacement. The remaining 110 received repairs and returned to service. Most returned within 1 week of being hit. German intelligence counted all 151 as permanent losses. They calculated 4th Armored should have been combat ineffective. Instead, it maintained offensive operations throughout the battle period. General Patton's initial skepticism about 76mm Shermans reversed after Aracourt experiences. 3rd Army subsequently accepted only 76mm armed wet storage variants. Recognition grew that improved firepower plus enhanced survivability created superior combat capability. Autumn 1944 brought second-generation improvements to combat zones. The M4A3E8 Easy 8 incorporated lessons learned from earlier combat experience. Improved suspension provided better cross-country mobility. Wider tracks distributed weight more effectively, despite added armor protection. Refined ammunition storage offered better crew access during combat operations. These tanks began reaching frontline units in October 1944. The specialized assault variant, M4A3E2 Jumbo, incorporated wet storage from initial production starting June 1944. Frontal armor reached 4 inches thickness. Turret armor extended to 6 inches in critical areas. Jumbos absorbed tremendous punishment while maintaining combat effectiveness. Combined with ammunition protection, these tanks achieved survival rates that bewildered German observers completely. First Army fielded 105 M4A3E2s across various tank battalions by November 1944. Third Army deployed 90 jumbos in 6 separate battalions. These tanks spearheaded assaults on heavily fortified German positions. They absorbed punishment that would have destroyed entire companies of earlier Sherman models. Crew confidence increased dramatically with improved survivability rates. Operation Watch on the Rhine represented Germany's final desperate offensive in Western Europe. The attack launched December 16, 1944, based on completely flawed intelligence about American armored capabilities. German planning assumed American tank losses would follow patterns established during 1943 combat. Offensive success depended on rapid destruction of American armored reserves. German planners calculated concentrated Panzer attacks would eliminate American tank units piecemeal. These calculations assumed traditional Sherman vulnerability to ammunition fires. When protected, Shermans survived at unexpected rates. Operational timelines collapsed completely. SS Obersturmbannführer Joachim Peiper's Kampfgruppe spearheaded 1st SS Panzer Division's attack toward strategic objectives. Near Stoumont, on December 19th, his Panthers encountered this new reality firsthand. They achieved numerous penetrations on 743rd Tank Battalion Shermans at close range. American resistance continued despite direct hits that should have destroyed entire crews. Post-war interrogations revealed Peiper's frustration with American tanks continuing to fight after absorbing supposedly fatal damage. The 761st Tank Battalion demonstrated these advantages throughout 183 days of continuous combat. Staff Sergeant Reuben Rivers posthumously received the Medal of Honor for actions exemplifying wet storage survivability improvements. His tank absorbed 2 direct hull penetrations on November 19th that failed to ignite ammunition storage. Rivers continued fighting despite serious wounds. His crew survived hits that would have killed them in earlier Sherman variants. German forces captured intact wet storage Shermans with increasing frequency as 1945 began. Operation Nordwind resulted in numerous M4A375W captures from the 43rd Tank Battalion near Hatton in January. German crews operated these vehicles for several days without recognizing liquid-filled ammunition containers. The Waffenamt's Technical Intelligence Branch had effectively ceased functioning by early 1945. Few technical specialists remained focused on analyzing enemy equipment improvements. Most worked on desperate wonder weapon projects instead of practical intelligence gathering. Even if frontline troops recognized modification significance, no mechanism existed for processing this information. The U.S. Army's Operations Research Office documented complete transformation in post-war study OROT-117. Pre-modification Shermans burned in 60 to 80% of penetrating hits. Wet storage variants burned in only 10 to 15% of similar cases. This reduction multiplied American armor effectiveness invisibly but decisively. A tank battalion with 50 Shermans suffering 30 penetrating hits would lose 18 to 24 tanks to fires with dry storage. With wet storage protection, only 3 to 5 would burn completely. 25 to 27 remained repairable and recoverable. Battalions maintained combat effectiveness instead of requiring complete reconstitution with replacement equipment. Across the European theater, this mathematical advantage accumulated into strategic superiority. Conservative estimates suggest the modification prevented burning in at least 1,000 tanks. This represented 5,000 trained crew members saved from death. Dozens of battalions maintained combat effectiveness that otherwise would have been lost. German planning never incorporated these changed realities into operational calculations. Every plan used obsolete data about Sherman vulnerability rates. This systematic error repeated across thousands of individual engagements. It contributed directly to accelerated German defeat in Western Europe. Post-war interrogations and veteran memoirs confirmed the complete intelligence gap. Not a single German account from war years mentions recognition of this critical modification. Otto Caraius destroyed over 150 enemy tanks. He wrote extensively about combat against Shermans in Tigers in the Mud. He never mentioned unusual fire resistance characteristics. Ernst Bachmann's famous tank ace accounts never referenced surprise at Sherman's surviving direct hits. Unit histories compiled by veteran associations provide additional evidence of German ignorance. Histories of Panzer Lehr, 2nd SS Panzer, and 116th Panzer Division contain no recognition of improved Sherman survivability. These sources represent private recollections among comrades rather than official histories subject to censorship. The wet storage intelligence failure represents one of modern warfare's most complete intelligence breakdowns. Multiple factors created this systematic blind spot in German analysis. Technical evaluation of Sherman tanks occurred using specimens captured before modifications existed. By the time wet storage Shermans entered combat, German forces had shifted to defensive operations. This limited opportunities for systematic technical intelligence collection of enemy equipment. Organizational dysfunction prevented field observations from reaching intelligence analysts. Modern technical intelligence divided between multiple competing agencies with poor information sharing protocols. Resource constraints meant captured vehicles went immediately into combat service rather than detailed technical evaluation. Cultural factors, including overconfidence in German technical superiority, reduced perceived need for detailed enemy equipment analysis. The modification's invisibility proved crucial to its success. It didn't change Sherman appearance or require new tactical procedures. It didn't announce its presence through obvious visual cues. German intelligence services looking for dramatic changes missed the subtle revolution occurring inside American tank production. The wet storage story offers enduring lessons for military professionals. Technical intelligence requires continuous updating and verification. The enemy studied yesterday may differ completely from the enemy faced today. Modifications need not be revolutionary to prove decisive in combat. Evolutionary improvements solving specific problems can prove more valuable than dramatic redesigns requiring years of development. For military engineers, the modification exemplifies effective design philosophy principles. Identify the specific problem through systematic analysis. Develop practical solutions using available technology. Implement improvements across entire production systems. The modification deployable immediately may prove superior to perfect solutions requiring extended development timelines. Intelligence services find cautionary lessons about analytical blind spots and assumptions. The enemy capability that seems impossible may prove most decisive. In warfare, where information equals ammunition, intelligence failure proves as deadly as mechanical breakdown. The Sherman tank wet storage ammunition system reduced catastrophic fire probability by 75%. It saved thousands of Allied lives through improved crew survivability. Its greatest success remained undetected by German forces throughout World War II's crucial final year. From introduction in January 1944 through war's end in May 1945, every major American armored operation employed substantial numbers of improved Shermans. German forces encountered them from Operation Cobra through the Reich's final desperate defense. They captured and operated hundreds without recognizing fundamental improvements. American engineers designed the system to save crew lives rather than deceive enemies. Yet its invisibility to German intelligence multiplied effectiveness beyond calculation. The modification validated American design philosophy, emphasizing practical solutions over theoretical perfection. Incremental improvements implemented quickly proved superior to German pursuit of revolutionary technical advances. History records wet storage as crucial technical improvement helping win World War II. More accurately, it should be remembered as the modification that achieved victory through enemy ignorance. German tank crews fought the wrong enemy using obsolete tactics based on faulty assumptions. They lost battles they might have won with accurate intelligence. The modification didn't just save American lives. It shortened the war by maintaining American armored strength at levels that accelerated German defeat. This hidden advantage multiplied across thousands of individual battles represents one of World War II's most remarkable yet unknown stories. A simple modification changed everything while remaining invisible to those who most needed to recognize it.